You know, there are some stories that just stick with you. The Little Prince is definitely one of them. And it's so easy to just think of it as a sweet little kid's book, right? But it's so much more than that. It's this incredibly deep dive into what we all seem to lose when we become grown-ups. So today, let's use its simple, beautiful words and drawings to unpack some really, really big ideas about what's actually important.
Okay, so let's jump right in where the book itself begins, with the dedication. And honestly, this one sentence just sets the stage for everything. It's not just some casual observation. This is the core problem the whole story is trying to tackle. It's like this quiet little warning, a heads up that in this big rush to grow up, we might be leaving the best parts of ourselves behind.
So, the whole story really kicks off with this simple drawing from when the narrator was a kid. But it's not just a drawing, it's kind of a test. And right away, it shows this massive gap between how kids see the world and how adults do.
So here it is, drawing number 1. When our narrator was just 6 years old, he was reading all these amazing stories about the jungle, and he got inspired. He drew this. And to him, it was perfect, a masterpiece. He saw this whole incredible, terrifying scene, a giant boa constrictor that had just swallowed an elephant whole. And man, was he proud of this drawing.
But then, he takes this masterpiece, this amazing drawing, and he shows it to the grown-ups. And what do they say? Every single time, they say this. Why would a hat be scary? A hat! They didn't see any of the adventure, none of the danger. All they saw was, well, a boring old hat. And boom, right there, that's the central conflict of the whole book. You've got the grown-ups on one side, who only see what's on the surface. To them, it's a hat. End of story. And then you have what the child meant, this whole incredible scene happening inside. The grown-ups are stuck on the literal, on the hard facts. They've completely lost the ability to see what's inside. They need you to spell it all out for them.
All right, let's jump forward in time. Years have passed. Our narrator, he's a pilot now. He's given up on drawing, he's become a quote-unquote reasonable person. But then his plane crashes, right in the middle of the Sahara Desert, 1,000 miles from anywhere. And it's here, in this moment of total crisis, that he has an encounter that's going to change, well, everything.
So imagine this. You're stranded in the desert, and at sunrise, you're woken up. But it's not a rescue team. It's this strange, amazing little person. And he looks at you very seriously and says this, "Please, draw me a sheep." I mean, seriously? You're in a life or death situation, and someone is asking you for a drawing. It's just wild.
So our pilot, he flashes back to his failed art career as a kid, right? But he gives it a shot. First, he draws a sheep that looks kind of sick. The little prince says, nope, that one's already ill. So he tries again, draws a ram. Nope, that's a ram. It's got horns. One more try. An old sheep. Too old. See, the little prince isn't just looking for a sheep. He has a very specific idea in his head, and the pilot's literal drawings just aren't cutting it.
At this point, the pilot is just done. He's frustrated, he has a plane engine to fix for crying out loud, so he just scribbles this. A box with a few holes in it. It's basically him saying, here, fine, your sheep is inside this crate. It's an act of total impatience. But then, something amazing happens.
The little prince's face just lights up. That's exactly how I wanted it. He can see it. He sees his perfect sheep right there inside the box. And why? Because he doesn't need it spelled out for him. Unlike all the other grown-ups, he still knows how to use his imagination. And for our pilot, that's the exact moment he realizes, this kid is not like anyone he has ever met before.
So as the story goes on, the pilot starts to learn more about this little guy. Turns out he's from this teeny tiny planet called asteroid B612. And he's been traveling, visiting these other little worlds. And on every single one, he finds a lone grown-up who is completely lost in some kind of bizarre, pointless obsession.
Yeah, each one of these planets he stops at is like this sharp, almost funny critique of the weird things we grown-ups focus on. You've got the king obsessed with authority, the vain man who just wants applause, the drinker trying to forget he's ashamed of drinking, and the businessman who's obsessed with owning things. They're all these lonely, trapped figures, stuck in their own little worlds.
So first up is the king. This guy lives on a planet so small that his robe basically covers the entire thing. He insists he rules over everything. The stars, the universe, you name it. But when the little prince asked him to command a sunset, the king says, sure, but we have to wait for favorable conditions. Which, just means waiting for sunset to happen on its own. His power is a complete illusion. It's totally hollow. But what's funny is,
In the middle of all this absurdity, the king drops this little nugget of actual wisdom. He says, "It is much more difficult to judge oneself than to judge others." He tells the prince that if you can judge yourself well, you're truly wise. It's incredible advice that the king himself has obviously never followed.
Okay, next up we meet the businessman. And this guy is the absolute poster child for the grown-up obsession with numbers and owning stuff. He's like the patron saint of being busy. He's too busy to say hello, too busy to look up, too busy for anything at all, except counting.
And what's he counting? He proudly announces this insane number, 501,622,731. It's the number of stars he owns, a number he has spent 54 years of his life just counting, over and over and over again.
And then the little prince just asks this beautifully simple, devastating question. Millions of what? It just completely unravels this guy's entire existence. I mean, sure, he owns the stars, but so what? What good is that to anyone? He can't help them, he can't care for them. His ownership is just an empty number. It's completely, utterly meaningless.
So, this whole trick through the asteroids, it's really a masterclass in what doesn't matter. But all of that is really just a setup. It's a huge contrast to the real emotional core of the story, which is all about what does matter. And that comes down to what the little prince left behind on his tiny planet. And this slide just lays it all out. It's this powerful clash of what different people consider to be serious things. On one hand, you have the narrator, our pilot. His serious things are a tight engine bolt, running out of water, death, survival stuff. But the prince? His serious things are the 4 thorns on his flower, and whether the sheep he just got might eat that flower. It's about a love that is totally unique in the entire universe. And finally, in this really emotional moment, the prince just breaks down, and through his tears, he makes the pilot finally get it. He yells that if the sheep eats the flower, for him, it's as if every single star in the sky just went out. And that's not important? Suddenly, the pilot understands. The fate of this one special flower, this one unique relationship, is bigger than any engine bolt. It's bigger than survival. It's love that gives the whole universe meaning.
So when you boil it all down, the whole story is really a lesson in how we see things. It's a powerful call to look past all the numbers and the titles and the surface-level stuff that grown-ups get so obsessed with. It's about learning to see the world again with that kind of clarity, that kind of heart that we all had when we were kids.
And so, the little prince's journey leaves us with all these beautiful, simple truths. That grown-ups confuse numbers with what's actually valuable. That imagination isn't just for play, it's a way of seeing the truth. That the most important things are often invisible. That judging yourself is way harder than judging anyone else. And that you become responsible forever for what you love. It's like a little guide for rethinking how we live our lives. And all of this leaves us with one last question to kind of chew on. The little prince taught the pilot how to see a sheep inside a simple box. So it really makes you wonder, right? What are the essential, incredible, beautiful things in our own lives that have become invisible? What's hiding in plain sight, just waiting for us to remember how to actually see it?